Welcome, welcome, welcome. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the Marlin knife. I might have the name a little bit off, but Marlin, Marlin spike, Marlin knife, whatever you want to call it. This is made by Marbles, and some of you may know I'm a fan of Marbles knives. They make some surprisingly good stuff for the cheap price that they charge. You launch right off the bat with this large sheep's foot blade. How sharp is it? Probably not very. If I can find some paper nearby, I usually have a ton of paper. Yes, this will work. It kind of slices, kind of tears, but that's fine because this is going to be dealing with ropes a lot more, so a slightly rougher edge, I believe, will just cut through the rope like it's not even there. Whoa. That is like, the rope is non-existent with that. Strip of leather. Really good. Now, most people, I want to say this is more just general knife stuff, not this knife in particular. Most people do not want a burr on their knife. When you sharpen it, you usually have a bit of a burr left over. And when it comes to a knife that's going to deal exclusively in rope, I like to leave a little bit of a burr on, because that burr acts as a bit of a serration of sorts that helps to chew through the rope. Now, it will disappear very quickly once you use it a bit. And I have heard that using like 800 and higher grit stones is too fine of a grind for your edge. Go with a 500 to 600 grind when you're wanting a rope cutter knife, because even if you remove the burr, you have enough of a sawtooth edge that it will cut through the rope. You get a knife with too shiny of a blade, and it will cut the rope. But you will have to make more passes through the rope because it's slipping through the rope rather than chewing through the rope. Just a little thought there. We have a nice large bail here, which goes right through the pivot of the Marlin spike, which is one-handed, by the way. Very nice. And this is a beast of a knife. Like, just look how big this whole thing is. So let's put a Victorinox nearby for comparison. Leatherman, this is not a Leatherman Surge, but it is the same dimensions of a Leatherman Surge. Big. Knife blade to knife blade. Impressive. A Ganzo PM2 imitation here. Just a big knife that we're looking at here. You throw in that Marlin spike on the end, and this thing is a beast. And this is under $10. Under $10, and we get rounded edges on the scales here. We have next to no blade play when these suckers are opened. At least on this one. Like, there's a tiny little bit, like what you would expect from a slip joint like this. But, like, not enough to even think remotely that this is an unsafe knife at all. This is a super secure knife. This thing is not going anywhere. And there's no half stops on the tools, but there is kind of that dead zone right here before you pick up the spring to close it. So it's kind of a half stop, kind of a not stop. They pulled out the stops when they made it, though. I mean, this sucker is good. It could be a little sharper maybe, but this thing is really, really goodly sharp for what it's going to do. And then that just pops open. I like to two fingers below and 2 fingers on when you're dealing with rope. And this is designed, in case you didn't know, this is designed for getting into big ropes on boats and prying those knots apart. Because on a boat, when you're spending months at sea, you can't just swing by the nearest Lowe's and buy some more rope. You had to make what you had last till you got to port. And the way to make it last was, instead of cutting the knots, was to untie the knots. But to untie these knots, your human fingies just could not work it most of the time. And so spikes were used a lot. And classic ones usually were just the spike, no knife. And some were made out of whale bone and very ornate. Like you see that thing in Jack Sparrow's hair sticking out? That is a giant fid. Fid is what this is, also known as a marlin spike. Because there's probably also used marlin noses and swordfish noses as these for fids to undo ropes and stuff. And so this is just the Swiss Army knife of the boatman. This did almost everything they needed it to do, and then some. I mean, you had a knife to cut rope if you needed to cut rope. You needed to cut rope on a boat. It was going to happen. Also cutting their meals and preparing their food and stuff. You know, day-to-day uses. These knives were super, super handy. But probably used more was the marlin spikes. You're up there on the mast and you got to undo the sails because you got a good tailwind coming and you can't waste time. You need to get those ropes undone and get the sails down. These were really good. I bet you there's probably some historical markers of these where maybe they had an eyelet in here for saddle stitching sails together or something. I bet you those exist. I don't know that for sure, but I bet you they existed. So it's just two simple tools. It doesn't get more dead simple than this. And then, you know, this is not really a tool in my opinion, but you could run, you know, a length of cord through that and tie that to your belt and you would never lose it. It's on hand, ready to go. And this is the Marlin spike, mariner's knife, whatever you want to call it. This thing is, for the $8 that it is super, super good. It's big. Don't get me wrong. That is a big heckin' knife. But this thing is awesome. It's phenomenal how good quality this is for $8. The lack of play in the implements, the nice looking, how they've just done it here, it just looks really, really good. I recommend just getting one, even if you don't use it. Just sit it on your fireplace, on your mantle, whatever. This sucker is fantastic. It's wonderful. So, thank you for listening to me ramble about this wonderful tool. I do recommend you check it out, if not get one. Swing by SMKW out there in Seaverville, Tennessee, and tell them I sent you. Say hi to TC Barnes. So, with all that said, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please consider hitting the like and subscribe. It will really help me out a lot. I hope you found this video useful and informational, and I hope it helps you build your EDC to your standards. And until the next time, farewell, carry well, and bye-bye.